So in this video, I'm going to share with you guys our DIY minivan build specifically for cycling. We live in Montana and I often get asked what is my winter sport, and I like to respond Arizona. With any luck, we'll be able to do a little bit of road tripping this winter and extend the riding season just a little bit more. To help facilitate that, we decided to do a build out in very loose terms with the minivan. It's a '06 Toyota Sienna. So let's take a deeper dive. In doing this build, we had a couple of goals in mind. The first one is to be able to store a bike inside. Right now, Laura's still riding the e-bike and it's big, it's heavy, it's on loan. So we wanted to protect it as much as possible. And that meant we wanted it to live inside. Another goal we knew we wanted was to have some kind of daybed configuration so that when there was a long day of driving, Laura could take a break and take a nap inside. And of course, we wanted to sleep on it. So to have all those things happen, it had to be an expanding bed design. And lastly, we wanted room for storage, which kind of worked out and kind of didn't. We'll get into the details in a little bit. But first, let's take a look at how we have the bike in here. This part is very low tech. Basically, I found some axle mounts on Amazon. I'll put the link in the description below. I thought these were pretty good because it had adapters to run quicker release as well as different configurations of through axles. So pretty flexible for all the bikes in our stable. What I did was I screwed that onto a little piece of 2x4, which I then screwed on to a board. The function of the board is to give the mount a little bit more stability. We didn't want to drill into the van itself because it is so long and so wide. It prevents it from tilting forwards as well as tilting on its side. It's also really lightweight and expandable. If for whatever reason we were driving without the bed and wanted to put multiple bikes in here, I could just cut more 2x4 and screw down more mounts. So overall, a pretty cheap and simple solution. I know some of you are going to be wondering, what about my bike? Well, my bike's going to live outside. We've got a Ceres rack here on the back. So in total, we can actually take 3 bikes, 2 on the outside and the heavier e-bike on the inside. I found that it's really tight in here to get a wrench. So that is why I like to use some kind of ratcheting wrench to install and remove the through axle. All right, so Laura's bike is out. Now time for the fun part. You'll notice that we have foam mattress pads. These just came in. We haven't cut them down to size or made a cover for them yet. That is happening soon. So we will have some kind of bedding on the foam mattress. The foam we got was from a company called Go-To Foam, I believe. I'll put the link in the description below. They come pre-cut. So if you're building something like this just for one person, then you're in luck. We bought 2 pre-cut pieces with the idea that when we're in couch mode inside, we can use one of these and put it on the back and lean against it. Again, these aren't cut to size yet, so the fit's going to be kind of odd. We did sleep on these one night. They are on the firmer side, which is what we prefer. They're about 3 inches thick, and I think this was actually a really good height. Any taller, and we would have had to make the legs shorter in order to sit up inside, and that would greatly reduce whatever little storage we already have. 2 inches would have been passable, but I think 3 inches was the better choice. I'm going to pull these off so you can see how the bed expands. So the way this works is that there is a fixed frame with slats, and then there is this loose part with slats that's not permanently attached to the fixed frame. And this allows you to slide it over and expand it. And bam. Nice. Apologies in advance to you more advanced woodworkers out there. I'm a relative noob, and this is my first kind of bed project, if you will. Hence the Craftsman sticker. In terms of materials, I decided to try to make it as light as I could, just so we could easily remove it. The rectangular frame and the legs are made up of 2x2s, and so far I found it gives enough structure without being as heavy as if I used 2x4s. For the slats, I use 1x3s and just cut them down to size, screwed them into the frame, and then built some legs with the 2x2s as well. Probably the biggest challenge in assembling the bed is that the bed of the van itself isn't flat. There's about a 3-inch difference. So the front legs here are 3 inches shorter than the ones that support it in the rear. One of the challenges was also making sure that the legs wouldn't buckle. Traditionally, you'd want to run some supports going across the leg so it doesn't collapse on itself. So to kind of bolster up the legs, I bought a lot of right angle brackets and put them wherever I could, just so the legs wouldn't bend and have the bed collapse. So other things, I know this free-floating piece seems really rickety, but once it's fully extended, there's a lot of overlap with the slats and this main beam down the middle, and it's surprisingly sturdy. I'll show you guys what it looks like with the mattress. Ugh. So surprisingly sturdy. And once you have the foam mattress on here, you do not feel the slats whatsoever. You have to excuse this little piece of paracord here. We use this to hold our fly rods up inside the van. One of the key parameters was to set the bed height so you could sit up and read or do things on the computer, which turns out is really important, especially when the weather turns south. When I first assembled this, the legs were actually too high and neither Laura nor I could sit up straight. And just with that one night of camping, it became really obvious how important a feature that would be. So I had to disassemble the legs, cut them down to size, remeasure, all that stuff. But now we can sit up inside the van. Super important, especially if you're going to be traveling long term. Yes, we lost some cargo capacity under the platform, but I think this was a worthy trade-off. Another fun thing that we picked up this year was this guy. This is an Iceco refrigerator. It's actually a 3-in-1. It can act as a refrigerator, freezer, or you can also use it as a plain ice cooler, which I think is pretty cool. I'll show you guys how it opens up. It's got these little plastic pull tabs. When we're driving, this is plugged into the 12 volt of the van. And when we're camped, we plug it into a Jackery 1000. Surprisingly, the compressor on this thing is pretty quiet and it doesn't run the whole time. Once it gets to temp, it'll only kick on to stabilize it. So if you're camping at night and it's relatively cool, this may pop on for 15 minutes once every hour. I'll show you guys what it looks like inside. So the inside capacity doesn't look like a ton, but one thing you have to remember is you're not filling it with ice. So the big advantage of that is if you've got a carton of eggs or a milk carton or something, you don't have to worry about melting ice, getting the cardboard wet and tearing and having holes and ruining a bunch of food. Another thing I built in order to make more storage is a little platform for the cooler. So again, these legs are 2x2s. It's got a slat design. These are 1x3s and pretty sturdy. I am going to get some ratchet straps to secure the platform and the fridge down for when we're driving. Over here, we've got a repurposed bookshelf, which will act as a pantry. We've got sliding bins for food here. And again, I built another platform to hold this shelf so we can store things like our stove, some tools, and other miscellanea. The Jackery lives down here as well. That's the build so far. I'll probably do another update video once we have the covers done and everything's fleshed out with all the things that we travel with. So if you guys have any questions about this build, leave those in the comments below. I'm hesitant to put up plans because I don't know if this is the best way to do it. But if you look up expanding van bed, there are much better tutorials than I could ever give. Fingers crossed, this will help us extend the riding season so we can create more videos for you guys. If you guys like this content, consider supporting the channel by buying one of our new stem caps in the web store or joining us on Patreon. That is the best way. You get lots of cool perks as well as some giveaways. Win-win for everybody. As always, everybody, keep the supple side down.